Welcome to the next episode of SmarTalks. This week's topic is bמשנה, of knowledge of scripture and of Mishnah. And I think that this is important because not only do we have knowledge of general knowledge, but we also have knowledge that we gained through years and years of study. So whether it's in Judaic study of scripture and Mishnah and Talmud, but there's also gained information by going over those exact texts. You know, every time I read something over again, even though I thought I know it, the second time I go over it, I read something even more deeper in that exact same text. Yeah. When I look at some things, I go into, okay, what did the Mishnah say? What did the Talmud say? What did different rabbis throughout the generations, how did they look at it? And then I try to understand it myself and make it my own.
I think that's what's amazing too about if you look at like our calendar, is that there's a repetition. It's a constant every year. It's not repeating. It's almost like we're spiraling up, right? It's a constant deepening of that same thing. That's where it's a constant review. I know what Passover is. I've learned it since I was a kid. Well, no, each year I learn something new. I learn a nuance. I deepen an old understanding. I somehow connect differently to an aspect of the tradition that deepens who I am and how I show. It's really cool. And I'm also reading a lot of some of my, favorite books again now. And because I'm different. So I'm showing up to the page and to the book in a different way. I'm learning new things.
Right.
Totally.
And sometimes when you skim over something, you're like, that's not really that important to me. But then when you read it over again, you're saying, oh, now that's relevant.
Wow. That's right. That's true.
What's interesting is that this bמשנה is different of just learning of our first value, the value of learning. This is about learning from text and creating a culture where you're constantly looking at the text. And I think when it comes to entrepreneurship, when it comes to businesses, it's so important to, as managers or people who are inspiring others to learn, to give them access to knowledge. So whether it's in Judaism, there are a tremendous amount of online courses that you can take. And one, it's really cool to take a course with other people, even if it's not for credits, but everybody in the group is learning from that same text.
I think within Judaism, we have our texts that, arguably we unite around, right? Everyone's got kind of a different relationship depending on where they are in their belief and relationship to the text, which is also interesting and wonderful, and I love exploring that because so many people see things differently. We're human. But also, because of all this information, how do you know that the book you're reading and the online course you're taking and the rabbi and the organization that you're talking with is the one for you?
And I think that each stage, different people are in different stages in their lives. So what we'll talk to someone who is just starting on their journey of self-discovery, of spiritual enlightenment, of discovery of Judaism in a more relevant way is different than someone who grew up with it all their life. And so we need to do that for ourselves, is know that we're constantly learning and find those sources of places that help us gain that knowledge consistently, so that we're looking at problems a certain way, that we're knowing where, sometimes even if you don't know the answer, you know where to look. I often, when I need to fix something in the house, before I even start the project, I want to say I have two left hands, but I'm a lefty, so I'm good at it.
That was a good joke, everything.
So
I hear people laughing. I hear that.
That was a little corny.
It's okay.
Anyway, so, but the truth is, I built a 70-inch round wooden table and figured out how to make it into a circle because I saw a guy on YouTube do it. So there's that going to the source and actually doing it. And that's what I love about the ability to, a lot of these YouTube tutorials, or lynda.com.
That's what a social influencer really is. It's showing you what can be done. It's just general. It can also be our sages. They were influencers too. They just didn't have Instagram accounts, but they had followers.
Yes.
Just it looks different. It's a different iteration, but it's still the same, at its core, it's the same essence.
So when it comes to learning from spiritually, learning from Talmud, learning from in Judaic, learning in real life, or just solving problems, we have to create that environment where we actually are curious enough to not just say, oh, I don't know it. And I think that's a lesson that we can take for ourselves, is that it's that balance of teaching and learning and working through it in a way that we can help people discover the information by themselves.
Absolutely.
And that's through time. They'll end up creating new habits. I was reading a book on creating habits over Shabbat, and it was amazing because one of the tips that they gave was one of the ways to create good habits and sort of to do things more efficiently is to create your goals. Like you were talking about lists in a previous episode. And you create, okay, this is what I want to accomplish. Even if it's exactly the same thing that you do every day, the motivation to do it will be quicker, and you'll be able to accomplish it quicker because all of a sudden you're trying to achieve those goals. And so for ourselves, when we actually just write it down, okay, this is what I need to accomplish this week, and I want to learn these things, then it's not just abstract, like, oh my God, there's so much knowledge out there, where am I going to start? But if you create that culture of sustained growth and limited, like we're only going to take it about bite sizes and create that environment to do that, then over time you will create and accomplish the most amazing things.
The incremental growth is so important, because I was just thinking about this over Shabbat too. Like, whoa, look at where I am compared to where I was 6 years ago. And then to have a person who knows nothing then be like, oh, I can't know all of this. Well, that's not true. And it starts with little steps, but that's really just growth. And sometimes it looks intimidating. It feels intimidating. Like, I can't get there. And I remember feeling that way 10 years ago when I moved to LA, and was like, how am I going to ever make a movie? How am I ever going to get there? Right. But just the small baby steps towards that goal are those small successes, and they do really pile up. I think for a lot of people, they're so just like, I'm not going to take that first step. And to be around people who inspire you, who are magnetic in that way, who are doing. So my friends, like, get yourself around doers. That's what I did. Get myself around people that are more successful, that are smarter, that intimidate me. So I feel like I'm playing in the big leagues. And then then it makes it just by osmosis. Right. You grow, you take that first step, and then suddenly you have the confidence because you saw where you were. You took that tiny step because you were around people and you were inspired. And now you can do it again. Right. Time and time and time and time again.
You're also shooting higher than what you would create for yourself. Sometimes we create goals that are limited because we want to create that safe zone. And I think that when we're learning and we're creating that environment of learning, it's okay for other people to share their experience. And we can all teach and learn from each other. That if someone knows an Aleph, they teach that Aleph. If someone knows Aleph and Bet, they teach the Aleph and Bet. And it's not about pushing my knowledge onto your knowledge. It's about just learning a little bit and sharing what I know and just being honest, like, okay, I'm learning.
That's right. I just think it's a great community to sort of create in that sense, and wish we had more of that.
Awesome.
Just wish we had more of that. I feel like it became very somber. It became very somber. It got really like a little mellow at the end there, because it's the state of where we're at. Just most people I feel like we don't really show up to life in that way, where it's like, look, let's all learn. It feels very kumbaya and idealistic. And like in some ways it is. And I think we need to show people that bar, that it is high and that we can reach it, and that maybe it's a little utopian, but if we don't fight for it, then we don't achieve it.
Well, I also think we're on information overload. We're not learning what we need to learn. We're not learning the things that will help us achieve our goals, whether it's the things that will help us achieve our goals in business, whether those are the things that will help us be more meaningful in our prayer, the things that will help us inspire us to do more good in our community. Push aside all the general knowledge that's being presented to us and just study and take just a certain percentage of time to study the stuff that help us be better selves, help us accomplish the things we're trying to accomplish. Then that study is different, more accomplished, and more meaningful. And
you're taking it into your own hands. Again, I think like we can point out all the problems in the world. Oh my goodness, we're not learning the things we need to know. We could sit in the problem, but what we're actually doing here is showing the solutions that you can teach yourself, that you can undertake. These are practical, sustainable growth steps that you can do and take matters into your own hands. I mean, that's what I did. I learned whatever I learned, and then it was not enough. Like, life went on, and I graduated college, and I started working, and some of the things I wanted in my life were not happening. So I wasn't going to go and be a victim about it and be like, well, I haven't learned these things, so I guess this is my life. I figured out what I needed to learn and got lucky to find some good stuff along the way and some incredible teachers, and got myself onto a different track. And I think we can all do that. And I think that's what we're accomplishing with these episodes. We're learning together and bringing you into the conversation so that you're learning. And hopefully there are things that you've taken from all these different episodes and learned from it, or have motivated you to go more in depth in your learning. Because you know what? In 10 minutes, how deep can you go? But through taking ideas, maybe there's one idea that we discussed today, from last week, from 2 weeks ago, from the beginning. Let us know what you've applied and what you've been motivated to take and learn more in depth. And if you've watched all of these, I want to know who you are. You're doing awesome. Amazing things. Thank you so much for tagging along on our journey. Awesome. See you guys next week. Be well. Bye.